the final time, hello and welcome to Tokyo Daily. Lots of things to wrap up today, a whole fortnight and a bit to wrap up, and a day that had some events yesterday as well to wrap up. Closing ceremony, we're going to talk about a whole lot of things, probably going to be a bit of a loose episode, I reckon, but my name's Harper, and with me to co-host this final edition of Tokyo Daily by Where Do We Begin, my great mate, my great co-host, Mr. Lockie Gibbs. How are you, Lockie?
Yeah, I'm stoked. Thanks, Harps. You know, I've loved covering the Olympics over the last couple of weeks. I can see the finish line now. But yeah, I'm just super stoked to be here. And like you said, I'm looking forward to getting a little bit loose on the air.
Oh, yeah. Very much looking forward to that after 2.5 weeks of, It's quite tiring doing this, I must say, but we've got a day of Olympics to review, the last day of events in the Tokyo Olympic Games 2020 or 2021, whatever you want to call it. The big thing that happened in the morning, the marathon. Lockie, do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, mate, I was just bloody tired looking at it. You know, the humidity was 75% plus, which I'm not a scientist, but I know that's bloody humid, bloody hot. So if anybody's been up to Darwin, Queensland or Bali, it'd be like running in that, I'm sure, in 42K straight. So you can imagine how tough it was. And in fact, 28 out of the 105 athletes actually had to withdraw from the race, which included Aussie Jack Rayner. It was such a great fight though, and I think the medalist, the gold medalist, which we'll talk about a bit more, Harps, ultimately really deserved it. But, you know, we had a couple of Aussies in the race. So like I said before, Jack Rayner unfortunately withdrew. But Aussie Liam Adams came 24th and Brett Robertson came 66th. Sorry, tongue twisted 66th. But I'm absolutely stoked for them because it was a great race run.
Oh, yeah, an amazing race. And they moved it up north to Sapporo because they expected it to be cool in Tokyo, but it was still 30 plus degrees there, which was just amazing. And speaking of amazing, Eliud Kipchoge, probably the greatest long distance runner of all time. He won it in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 38 seconds, full 2 minutes, 20 seconds ahead of the silver medalist, which is absolutely phenomenal. And that time he got, that's about 3 minutes for every kilometre for 42 kilometres, Lockie. That's insane, isn't it?
I seriously challenge anybody to go out to your local park, clock yourself around a track for 1K. If you can do 3 minutes for 1K, I will be supremely impressed. And if you see somebody running 3 minutes a K, you know they are flying. And to be able to hold on for 42K is like, yes, I know they're Olympians, but mate, they are actually superhuman. Gee whiz.
There's an amazing video on YouTube that puts that speed into perspective, the speed of Eliud Kipchoge when he did a marathon, an unofficial one in under 2 hours, which I encourage people to check out. I'll put the link in the show notes. And I think he's the third man ever to go back-to-back Olympic marathon gold medalist. But another event that happened yesterday featuring an Aussie, couple of Aussies, the men's Keirin final in the track cycling. So guy by the name of Matt Glaetzer, he finished 5th, and he's had an amazing story to get to that men's Keirin final. Less than 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. He's overcome that, and he had a pretty bad leg injury just last year as well. 2-time world champion. Phenomenal that he's even there, and 5th place in the final. Superb stuff from Matt Glaetzer. And another Matt, Matthew Richardson, not the Channel 7 commentator, as we've worked out over this series. He got knocked out in the quarterfinal of that same event. But Lockie, the women's basketball final happened yesterday as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, I think it'll come as no surprise to anybody, but America won that one. There was their 7th gold in a row in the event, beating Japan 90-75. And, you know, I think it was quite clear that they were the strongest team in the competition from the start. They're filled with incredible athletes, play the game really well. They're a really skillful team. And I think that's what I really appreciate about women's basketball is compared to the men. The men sometimes, it's a lot of athleticism, it's a lot of speed, whereas the fundamentals in women's basketball is absolutely like top notch, and they're just such skillful players. So it was a great gold medal match and as well deserved. But also Japan fought really well to get through to the final and win silver.
Yeah, I think they beat France in the semi, which is superb from them because not many people think of them as a basketballing nation or generally a nation with many tall people. But getting all the way to the final and getting themselves a silver medal, nothing to be scoffed at all. And this was an interesting one in the karate.
I was going to say Japan. Yeah, Japan is the 10th ranked team in the FIBA World Rankings for women's basketball. So to make it through to the final is an absolutely unbelievable effort.
Oh, yeah, phenomenal stuff. Maybe a bit of a home country advantage, who knows? But yeah.
Yeah, they had the crowd advantage, that's for sure, Harps.
Yeah, of course. That brilliant run to get there. But another Japanese sport, karate. They had a final in the 75 kilo men's category, and a Saudi Arabian guy called Tarek Hamedi, he thought he'd won the gold medal up against the Iranian Sajjad Ganjzadeh, but he didn't. So in the first minute, the Saudi Arabian guy knocked out his opponent. But it turns out that the kick to the jaw was too forceful, so he got disqualified because it was a serious violation of the rules. Fair enough, I'm not a karate expert, and the opponent was getting treated with oxygen on the mat. So, yeah, pretty serious kick. And it would have been, if you won it, if old Tarek Hamedi won it, it would have been Saudi Arabia's first gold medal ever in any sport in the Summer Olympics, and probably in the Winter Olympics as well, because not much snow in Saudi Arabia. And the Iranian opponent, said he was happy about the gold medal, but he was sad that he had to win like this. Strange one, wasn't it, Lockie?
Yeah, really strange result. And it's the first time karate has ever been involved in the Olympics. And well, I'm not going to say it's the last time. I'm not here for sweeping declarations, but it hasn't been picked up for Paris. So it was one of Japan's choices for the sport to introduce to the game. And unfortunately, it's gone. But I think, we really enjoyed it for what it was during the games. And it was just awesome to see the showpiece event like karate at the games.
Yeah, it was awesome indeed. And another interesting one news coming out of yesterday, German coach of a modern pentathlete called Anneke Schloy. The coach was called Kim Reisner. She got kicked out of the games because she punched a horse called Saint Boy. Got a bit fired up at the horse like a Melbourne lockdown protester. And Lockie, do you know why the coach punched the horse?
Yeah, probably as many brain cells as a Melbourne lockdown protester, but I digress and we shall move on. But yeah, the horse just refused to jump or trot. And to be honest, I never expected show horse jumping to be front pages of any newspapers. But at least they're bringing a few headlines to the sport. All news is good news, as they say. But yeah, so the horse just refused to jump or to trot and jump. And I think so it was really edgy before actually going into the arena, and it made the first couple of jumps, but then it sort of had enough. And you really feel bad for the athlete, because she was actually a good gold medal chance heading into it, and obviously she just couldn't control the horse to get it to go, which is really disheartening for her. But I guess the scenes afterwards were just pretty shocking, to be honest.
Yeah, and Lockie, moving on for that one, a couple of friends of the show, great friends of the show, elected to a pretty cool position, if you ask me. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so Alex Winwood, great friend of the show, and Rachel Lynch are among 5 newcomers to the Australian Olympic Committee. So I think after each games, if I'm not too, I might be wrong with that, but the AOC elects 5
Commission.
The Athletes Commission, elects 5 new members. And so Jess Fox, Kate Campbell and Ken Wallace were all re-elected, and joining them were, as pre-mentioned before, Alex Winwood, who's the first Indigenous member ever, Rachel Lynch, Rowie Webster, who's a water polo player, hockey's Andrew Carter. What is it? Charter.
Andrew Charter,
and Cameron Girdlestone. So awesome. And it's actually, so the AOC has actually amended their constitution to guarantee an enduring Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. So it's awesome initiative to have. And anything else, Harps?
Yeah, awesome, like you said. But another result coming out of yesterday, just before we move on to our next little segment, Serbia in the men's water polo gold medal match, they got a win. And I've got to say, that area of Europe, Eastern Europe, very strong in the water polo. I think they've won all the medals, all the gold medals since 2000 in the men's competition. Serbia beat Greece 13-10 in the men's water polo final. And we've actually, speaking of the men's water polo final, our water polo correspondent, plus a few others of our expert guests throughout the games, have left a few of their favourite memories from over the games, from their sport and from other sports. And to kick us off, we've got Uga Mihailović, who is, of course, the son of the Aussie Stingers coach Predrag Mihailović and the brother of Lena, a player for the Stingers. And then after that, you're going to hear Courtney Walsh, our tennis expert.
Hey guys, my favourite moment of the Olympics was definitely watching my sister play. That was awesome. And the second favourite moment was Serbia winning the Olympic gold. Thanks for hosting me, guys, legends, and keep up the good work.
Hi guys, great to be with you again. It's been just a wonderful games, and I'm really happy I was able to add a little bit to the coverage in terms of the tennis. Just from the tennis perspective, I thought it was a really amazing Olympics. Great to see a couple of new gold medalists in Alexander Zverev in the men's singles, and also Belinda Bencic in the women's singles. It'll be fascinating to see whether they can pilot those success into major wins in coming years. Also awesome to see Ash Barty and John Peers get a medal in the mixed doubles. I thought that was just fabulous to see. It was a tough campaign for Ash Barty in particular after the early loss, but great to see her bounce back. And clearly the team environment really suited all players there. It was wonderful. Personal highlights of what I thought were compelling games. Paddy Mills last night and the Australian Boomers finally breaking through for that bronze medal. It was an awesome performance, amazing from him individually in the bronze medal playoff. To see Jess Fox bounce back from a bronze medal to finally claim the gold after London in 2012 and then Rio in 2016 to get that gold, awesome. The swimmers were great. To see Peter Boll leading an 800-metre final with about 150 to go was just awesome as well. So fantastic to be part of the coverage. Great fortnight of sport. Wonderful to see that they were able to make it happen, and cannot wait for 2024 in Paris. Cheers.
Oh, thanks so much for that, Ulga and Courtney. I've absolutely loved your contributions throughout the game. It's been so cool for our little podcast to have experts like you both in your field. So really appreciate that, and just love all that you've done. And yeah, I think I speak on behalf of both of us, and that you guys are way too overqualified for this podcast. So thanks again.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much, guys. And there was one thing from yesterday we actually haven't spoken about yet. We didn't speak about in the first segment. The closing ceremony. Now, I quite enjoyed this. It was a good little event. Went on for 2.5 hours, I reckon, but it was fun. It was fun. There were 85 Aussies there because most of them had to leave pretty much straight after their events. But there was like a cool little light show and the Olympic rings with these kind of light particles, which was very nice looking, very pleasing to look at. They did all these dances, and yeah, it was a good kind of party atmosphere. They did a dance to Ode to Joy by Beethoven for all the classical fans out there, which is an absolute banger. I thought it was very, very well done, very well put together. Now, Lockie, what are we talking about next, mate?
Yeah, geez, Harps, I'm just a bit flat that I missed out on what sounds like the party of the 21st century, mate. Geez, it seemed like an absolute rager. What did you prefer, Harps, though? The closing ceremony or the opening? Which one did you prefer?
I quite enjoyed both of them, to be honest. I probably enjoyed the opening ceremony more because it kind of signalled the start of the Olympics. I was so excited for the Olympics to start on that night, and it was all like feeling real. But the closing ceremony is a bit sad because it's all over, even though it's probably a better spectacle. What about you?
Yeah, to be honest, too tough to tell, Harps. Too tough to tell. Tough to split, especially because I didn't watch the closing ceremony. So
yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah,
I watched the opening though, and I thought, to be honest, it was a little bit boring. But that was just my opinion.
They often are. They often drag on for a bit, but yeah. Can't do too much about it.
Speaking of dragging on, I reckon we're dragging on. So I'll get the ship back on track. Or ship back onto the sea. I don't know the exact saying. So we'll go through the results of the guests that we had on the podcast and how they went with on the Olympics. So first up is Stacey Heimer, who unfortunately she was knocked out in the round of 16 in the Taekwondo 57 kilos event. But she'll be better for the run. That's before, and she had a really, really tough opponent, and she did us all proud. Our next one is Alex Winwood in the boxing flyweight, and unfortunately he was knocked out in the first round in the round of 32. But I think Alex he's a superstar. Like he's a ripper bloke. Go check him out on Instagram. He's a really funny guy, and but he's also an unreal athlete. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him too. And then finally, we have Lucien Delfour. So he came 8th in his K1 final in the canoe slalom. But, it was an unbelievable watch for him. I think the whole nation was watching off the back of Jess Fox's success in the canoe and kayak. And, we're just super excited to watch Lucien. He came 2nd in his heats, but still coming 8th in the final was a great run for him.
Yeah, and another person who would be very proud just for getting to Tokyo, because she went over some amazing hurdles, past some amazing obstacles to get there, as you can hear in her episode. Carly McCulloch, the track cyclist, in a couple of events in the track cycling. The Kieran, so she finished 9th in the final stage in that one, knocked out in the semi-finals, went into a kind of ranking thing, so ended up finishing 9th. And in the individual sprint, she got through to the round of 16, but knocked out in the repechage, which was, I'm sure, a bit disappointing for her, but she can be proud of even being there, like I said. And moving on, Jason Waterhouse, the sailor, in the NACRA 17 with his cousin, Lisa Darmanin. They finished 5th over the 10-race event. They were on the cusp of getting a medal, I reckon. They were in 3rd position in the last race at a point, but I think the Germans might have overtaken them, and they're probably disappointed not getting a medal, but valiant performance and some strong competition there. Hey, Lockie.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around the use of valiant. Great word, underutilized, and not underutilized, but definitely not underappreciated. I think we all appreciate our next one, which was Brooke Stratton, and she was awesome in the long jump. Anytime an Aussie makes a final in an athletics event, it's only something to celebrate. And she did an awesome work in the final. I think she jumped 6.83 meters, which was an unbelievable jump, massive improvement on a qualifying jump in the semis, which was 6.6. So she was absolutely unbelievable. Our next guest was Sergei Evglevsky. He unfortunately came 17th in the qualifying stage, but he's got, I think the Olympics, it's the 7th consecutive Olympics that his family's been involved with. And, he's just going to be better for the run. He's going to gain the experience. And in 2024 in the Paris Olympics, he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with, Harps.
Yeah, Commonwealth Games silver medalist, bigger and better things to come for the great man, Sergei Evglevsky, I reckon. But the next one, Lena Mihailović, of course, the sister of Uga and the daughter of Predrag, the coach of the Aussie Stingers. The Aussie Stingers knocked out in the quarterfinal in a heartbreaker against the ROC, 8-9, really went down to the wire, that one. Anyone's game with seconds to go, but knocked out in the quarterfinal. And then they beat Canada and then the Netherlands in some placement games, ended up finishing 5th overall in the standings. So that's a position not too bad at all, I reckon, considering they were very, very close to coming to the semi-final, could have pushed on from there. But our next one, Rachel Lynch, this was another heartbreaker in the hockey. They went undefeated through the group stage. They were 5-0. They conceded 1 goal into the quarterfinal. They conceded 1 goal as well against India, but unfortunately they didn't score a goal. So they lost 1-0 in the quarterfinal to India. Absolute heartbreaker, like I said, for Rachel Lynch, the keeper, and all the Hockey Roos women. But that's a shame for them. But I reckon they just feel proud in the group stage. It was amazing. Few performances there. And the last one, our last Olympic guest, great man, Jai Edwards, in the 1500 metre. He had some cracking Australians alongside him with Stuart McSwain and Ollie Hoare in the 1500 metres. He was in the heats. He got knocked out. He was one position from getting through to the semi-final in his heat, finishing in 7th place with a pretty good time. He said it was a brutal race, and I wholeheartedly agree from watching on my tally. Yeah, unfortunate for Jai, but again, first Olympics, bigger and better things for next time. Lockie, what are we doing next? We're doing a bit of listeners' memories, aren't we? So do you want to reel some of them off from the socials?
Yeah, I am. So our first one is Darcy Tobias on Instagram. Thanks for chucking this in. So I think what Darcy loved was not only just, I guess, the different sort of sports, but he said 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have had the faintest clue who he was, but Tom Daley is one of the most wholesome and skilled people. So for people that don't know, Tom Daley is the Great Britain diver, and he was absolutely unbelievable during the Olympics. We also had Jack Hanrahan on Instagram, whose favourite was Rowan Browning. So he was the sprinter, the 100-metre sprinter that broke the Australian record at 10.01. So I think everybody loved his mullet and the fact that he ran fast. We're pretty simple in Australians. Have a mullet, bowl or run fast. You're one of our favourites. And who else contributed memories that we really agreed with, Harps?
We had Cougar Bourbon on Facebook. Not sure if that's your real name, Cougar, but it's a good one. If it is, he just said all of it. I agree with that one, all of it. It was an amazing fortnight and a half, really. And the final one, friend of the show, my mum, Gabrielle Pestinger, she said Peter Ball on Instagram. Peter Ball coming fourth, then talking to a room packed full of family and friends. So some good memories there shared by some of our listeners and friends of the show on the socials. Thanks so much for them, guys. And we've got a couple of final memories from our expert guests. So I'm going to kick us off with Daniel Garb, our football expert, his favourite memories from the Olympics, and then Georgia Nanscawen, former hockey-roo, talking about the hockey and her favourite memories from the games. Here they are.
Yeah, hello, Daniel Garb here. Really sad that the Olympics is over, of course, but it's been unbelievable. In terms of the sport, I was asked to give some analysis on football. Hard to go past the Matildas, of course, and their exploits. Loved the Olyroos win over Argentina. Feels like years ago now, but that was a great moment early on in the games. Watching the Matildas, though, beat Great Britain to make it through to the semi-finals was wonderful. The Sam Kerr equaliser was, the climax of that moment, of course, and then to knock off a really good team in extra time showed that they still belong at the top table of women's football. Disappointing they couldn't cap it off with a medal, of course, but they were a joy to watch the Matildas all through the Olympics. So that was a big moment in my sport. Outside of football, so many. It was such a brilliant games, Australia-wise and otherwise. Jess Fox's gold medal is one that stands out. She'd won a silver and a bronze before. Then she has that disappointing run where she wins a bronze in her first race. And there was so much pressure on her to finally deliver and win that gold medal. And her run was just unbelievable, flawless. And you could see the look in her face, the fact that her father was commentating. It all added up to just a magical moment, and just delighted she was able to break through for the gold medal eventually. And the nation really rejoiced in that one. So, yeah, Jess Fox would be in my moment among so many others. It was a brilliant Olympics. I think Australia got Olympic fever again because the time zone added up perfectly for us. So enjoyed every moment. It was fantastic.
My favourite hockey moment from the Tokyo Games would have to have been the Kookaburras quarter-final win over the Dutch. Classic rival, cutthroat game, went down to a penalty shootout. Couldn't ask for too much more in terms of redemption and levels of excitement. Another favourite memory for me from the Games actually didn't involve an Australian, but it was from the women's cycling road race. The Austrian woman won the gold. It was a super gutsy ride. Complete underdog, broke away from the pack, and the people behind her actually didn't know that she was still out in front, but she rode a considerable way by herself and just gutsed it out, and yeah, true underdog story, won the gold and was really amazing to watch.
Thanks so much for that, Daniel and Georgia, and same goes for both of you. We really appreciate your contributions throughout not only the Tokyo Daily Series, but you've both also had your own episodes on the podcast, and unfortunately I haven't had the pleasure to chatting to either of you, but hopefully I will in the future. And for any of our listeners, make sure you go back and listen to both of them, as they're absolutely great episodes. But now Harpsy, now it's our turn to have a crack. What is our favourite memories of the games? And I'm going to go with you first.
Me first. Okay, well, to be honest, I think my lasting memory out of these games is doing all the podcasts, to be honest. I've got some things that happened kind of in the events, but yeah, I'll definitely never forget the amount of podcasts we've turned out through these games. We've been doing them since May, I think, the Olympic episodes, and I crunched the numbers, talked to the Where Do We Begin statistician, and they said that we churned out over 1,000 minutes, over 1,100 minutes worth of content in the podcast feeds. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that, and pretty knackered as well. So super fun to do all these podcasts throughout the Olympics. But in terms of things that happened within the games, one of my favourite memories is Cedric Dubler. He was struggling in the decathlon. It wasn't a medal chance really by the end of it. And in the last event, in the 1500 metres, someone that was a chance was his teammate Ash Maloney. He was spurring him on, trying to push him towards that bronze medal, shouting right in his ear behind him in the 1500 metres, and the sheer elation on his face and with his expressions when Ash Maloney crossed that line and secured the bronze medal was something I'll definitely never forget. Lockie, what about your memories?
Yeah, so I think my first one would be slightly similar to you, but I think it was just really awesome having interviewed people that were about to go to the games to be able to follow their journey and watch their events. And I think that I really enjoyed that aspect of having that connection to them and then really, I guess, feeling so invested in their journey. So that was a real highlight for me. In terms of if going away from the other people that we interviewed, I guess the other highlights, I think it had to be like Jess Fox, watching her like win bronze in the K1, which was, an amazing effort, but, just a bit crestfallen. But to bounce back in the canoe and win gold, I absolutely love that. And I guess on top of that, I love the Australian Boomers finally winning a medal. We chatted about that a lot last night, so I won't go too much into it. And I guess my other favourite moment would have to be Melissa Wu winning bronze. I think she's been so close in the individual events in the last couple of Olympics, and to just see her to get a bronze medal in the 10 metre platform, I think I really enjoy that. It was diving's a really unique sport that I only watch once every 4 years, but when I do, I just have such appreciation for the athletes and what they can do.
Oh, yeah, big time. And that just about wraps us up for what we're going to chat about in this episode and in Tokyo Daily as a whole. If you've been listening to one of the episodes or all of the episodes, appreciate it so much. Can't thank you enough for supporting us along the way. It's been great fun churning out all these episodes, all this content for you. Lockie, anything else you'd like to say quickly about the series?
Just like to thank everybody that's helped us, all the athletes, all the experts. I'd like to thank yourself, Harbs. You've done an unbelievable job at, putting this all together. And to be honest, hearing that churned out at 11,000 minutes, that's 11,000 minutes or not 11,000, but that's hours set at the desk, editing. So Harper does all the editing. So really give yourself a pat on the back. And I'd just like to thank all the listeners that have tuned in, whether that's 1 episode, 2 episodes, 3 episodes, or 30. We really, really appreciate all of it, all the support. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for that, mate. And thanks to everyone who's listened. We're going to take a bit of a break after this Tokyo Daily series because Lockie's knackered, I'm knackered. I've been having lots of late nights editing the show, putting it all together. So we'll probably be back in a few weeks with some more Olympic content, some more Australian sport content. It will be great to be back in a few weeks. For now, though, I'm going to get to bed and probably sleep for the next week. What about you, Lockie?
Probably a bit of study, bit of sleeping, bit of everything.
Sounds good. I hope our listeners haven't been sleeping through this podcast. It's been really fun to put it all together for you guys. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.